What's good? What's good, people? It is your guy Travel Matic back to you with another great video. And today is a special day. I'm really gonna love this show. I'm sure you're gonna love it as well too. But let's just talk about the first timers to the show. If this is your first time, definitely hit the like and subscribe button. Share this content. We are going to have a doozy of a show. This show is actually about remote work, digital nomad, transferring your skills, all around travel. So we kind of have like a little gumbo of content here. And so if it's your returning time, what's up? We back. We back. And I have my co-host Tiffany, Sports and Heels.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Hi.
You all calm and stuff today, man. Like you did say you
I
just
just
got finished getting stretched. So you
I go to the stretch lab, and yeah, I'm
you a
feeling
little
good. I'm feeling
relaxed.
relaxed. Yeah, definitely
Uh,
feeling. I'm feeling real free on this Juneteenth Monday.
right. That's good. That's good. And like I said, this show I love to kind of bring it and tie it around travel somehow, some way. And so I got a great idea from a young lady named Kieona, who is actually coming live today from Guatemala, one of the most underrated countries in Latin America.
Absolutely.
Let's give it up for Miss Kiana Farley.
Yay! Welcome,
Yes.
Kiana.
A round of applause. She is here. Yes. Thank you. Um, so Tiffany found her, referred her to me. I saw the
My favorite
Guatemala
spot.
content. I instantly was like, "Bam, need to get
Yep.
her on here." So, introducing Miss Kiana. How are you?
Good. I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm
Yes.
I'm
So,
excited to have you here,
go ahead,
Kiana.
Tiffany.
I've been following you on TikTok for some time, and I've seen some really great content from you. One of your videos, you have great content, by the way. Let me just say that. Very real, very authentic, and I appreciate your authenticity. I appreciate your transparency. But you also have some viral videos too that are just very eye opening to me, which is what prompted me to send this to Adrian and invite you to come on and talk about who you are and what your story and how you got to be where you are in Guatemala.
Wow, it's pretty much a long story to be honest with you. Um, let's just put it this way. I'll start from 2019 when COVID hit. Um, I felt this sense of like overwhelming, like monotonous day to day. I was already working remote work. So just to give you guys some insight, I currently work as a remote worker and I work in data management for clinical research. I've done that for almost 8 years now, and I'm in a more higher role so far. And um, it just was like very monotonous on a day to day doing the same stuff over and over. And it got close to where my lease was up. So I was living in Florida, Tampa, Florida, and I was interested in moving to Miami. And I'm like, it was during a time where the housing crisis was insane. They wanted you to put like 3 times the rent down for moving in. I'm like, I'm gonna pay 10 grand to move into an apartment. That's like worse than when I bought
That's
my house.
insane. Yeah.
So I decided that I said, you know what, this is like a month to month. I woke up the next day and I said, you know what, we're going to Mexico. I sold all my shit and I was just like, let's go and do a month to month on like an Airbnb, and we move into places that already have everything that we need. And so I minimized our stuff. We had maybe what, 2 suitcases. I had my son's aunt come with us as an au pair, and we stayed in La Playa del Carmen and Tulum for 2 months. And we had an amazing time. Not only that, but I was paying $800 a room with the housekeeper. Um, and I just realized that COVID kind of pushed me in that, because I always had the idea that I wanted to homeschool my son, but I didn't have the time. So COVID kind of pushed me into that. So I'm like, if I could, my son's online, why don't I just keep him online? And so we went to Mexico, stayed there for 2 months, and then we came back to the States to come visit some family. And then it's so funny because everybody keeps talking about the girl from Guatemala, like the Black girl that's in Guatemala. Well, I was watching TikTok to figure out where my next destination was in Latin America, and it was between Colombia and Guatemala. There was this girl that popped up, and it was like, oh, she was in Guatemala. I was like, we're going there. And I had no fucking clue what I was coming up to. No clue whatsoever. And when we got to the airport, we were like, what is this? I don't know. Like the Spanish, you can't play around with Spanish here. If you don't know Spanish, definitely have to practice. But we ended up liking it so much that we extended our stay. And literally within like 3 to 4 months, with me just making connections and networking, I was able to actually get my Airbnb, a condo here in Guatemala City. So as far as creating content, just an FYI, like before I even got into TikTok, I've been doing public speaking. I'm an author of 4 self-published books. I've been helping other people publish their books, become self-publishers. So I've been kind of like in the public sector, like, trying to share my story for a while. But content became my love all of a sudden. And I just like sharing what I've changed my life pretty much, because I just want people to know that if you're a single parent, you can do it. If you're Black, you can do it. If you are whatever it is, like, you don't have to stay stuck. And so I think with the whole concept, even of this Juneteenth show, and why I was so compelled to do this and share my story, is because we all have the same idea of teaching our people to get outside of their fear and try something new.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's how I got here.
I love what you said about getting outside of your fear and trying something new, because we literally, I think every episode, that's my mantra, is that we have the power, no matter what your situation is. And we try to bring different examples of how you can change your life in a way that's meaningful for you, whether it's domestic travel, whether it's solo travel, whether it's remote working, whether it's, a 2-week vacation or 3 days or whatever it is that looks right for you. Whether it's, for me, it's track and field allows me to do that. I do also travel on my own, remote working, but for other people, it's different things, so I appreciate you saying that. We always say you have to get outside your comfort zone, because where you're comfortable is at, it's not where you're going to grow. Right. And don't be afraid to fail. Like you literally did what you wanted to do, but you did it scared. You had no clue that it was going to turn out the way that it did, but look at the impact it's had on your life. So yeah, it's amazing.
Absolutely. And you know what the crazy thing is? Like, people are like, oh my gosh, like, I respect you so much for your fearlessness. And people don't understand. I am scared of crap when I'm doing this stuff, I don't know the languages, I don't know the people, but the thing is that I always feel like I'm divinely guided at the end of the day. God's always happy. And so I feel as though if you're being called to do something, the problem is that even with remote work, you were talking about remote work, it took me 3 years to decide to leave my job, because my boss kept telling me, hey, I'm going to promote you. Hey, I'm going to promote you. And I stayed. And then after a while, I was like, look, it's not looking like she's going to promote me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take matters in my own hands. I decided to leave. It took me to leave for me to get the title I was looking for and to double my salary. So the problem is with us and a lot of people is that they have this fear that, oh, I don't know what the other side looks like. And then we'll remain in this victim role, right? That, oh, I'm in this circumstance because I'm a single parent. I can't do those things, or my finances are not correct. People don't understand that our money, the US dollar, moves beautifully in Latin America. And we have the capability of changing our environment, because we don't realize how much an environment affect our health.
Yeah.
A lot of people of color are experiencing levels that increase their high blood pressure, cardiac issues, all that stuff. We need to create an environment where we need the sun, we need water, we need just relaxation to be able to breathe, to not feel like we can't go places because of the color of our skin, because we're afraid of being attacked or anything. So I think it's really important for us to really start thinking, you know what, with Juneteenth in mind, freedom comes at a cost. And I always tell people, I fought for my freedom. And your freedom is a mentality. Freedom is all a mentality. You have to change the way that you think before you even start trying to move in your environment.
Let me ask you this. You had already committed to having the expat lifestyle, or just leaving and living somewhere else by selling everything and moving down to Mexico. What did your family, because I think for a lot of us, we're really connected to our family. A lot of us are, not everybody, but a lot of us are really connected to our family, our parents, our siblings. What was your family's response when you said, did you even tell them, like, I'm selling everything and moving abroad?
So I didn't tell most of my family. My mom, I did have the conversation with her, and my father. Those are the two key, most important people that I speak to about my moves, right?
Yeah.
And when I told my mother, the first thing she says is, "Oh, Black people don't travel like that unless they're in the service."
Wow.
Then my father is like, "Oh, it's dangerous. Why would you even, do that? Or what about the stability for your children?" So that's another thing that I came across a lot.
Wow.
Why would you want to do that? Your children deserve a stable environment. And so I got a lot of resistance. And I'm going to be honest with you, for people who are interested in becoming expats, they need to be mindful of sharing the information with loved ones. And I mean, they mean us well, but a lot of times they project their fear onto you.
Yeah.
And it will lead to a lot of people being hesitant about making the decisions that they want to make.
Yeah, we Adrian and I both have talked about that. We've both experienced that when people ask, well, where, because we both travel. So people ask, well, where are you going next? And if it's not Jamaica or Mexico, then you get a lot of pushback. Well, why would you want to go there?
Yes.
And I think a lot of Black Americans, which is unfortunate, don't understand how large the African or the Black diaspora, the African diaspora is, and how there's Black people in Guatemala, there's Black people in Colombia, there's Black people in Brazil, and not Americans. These are people who are born and raised, and there's Black people in Ireland. So I think understanding that and seeing that more often, and I think the younger generation has an advantage because they have TikTok, they have social media, so they're able to have access to creators like yourself who are living examples of a community that looks like them living somewhere that's not the US or Canada or the UK, right?
And representation is key. And that's why I say, so prime example for me, when it came to remote work, I remember my first boyfriend, his sister had worked she work contracted for the government in DC. And I went to her house for Christmas for the first year, and I was just like, she's really nice. She bought me some super expensive gifts and stuff. I'm like, what does this woman do? She's at home all the time on her computer. She gets to work from home. Like, she has the luxury lifestyle. Like, whatever she does, I want to do that, right?
Yeah.
And because I'm always taught that the harder that you work, you're supposed to work hard and you're supposed to do all this other stuff, and that's how you make your money, or you have to be physically at a job or things like that. I had no idea that remote work was something. And it took me to say, I'm going to do that by seeing her do that. that the past, like 8-9 years of my life, I've worked remotely. And I've had family members think that I was unemployed for so long because I always work from
Work from
home.
home. Yeah. Trust me, I've been working from home since 2015, prior to COVID.
Right,
So
right,
people find it interesting when, some fields is more, it's more, prior to COVID, some fields it was more prevalent than others, right? But since COVID, there's a lot more fields that you can get into that offer remote work. I see we have a question from Sincere, and he's asking, how did you find a remote job? You hit every job board you can. You reach out to those in your community. You reach out to those you may know. You reach out, go to blogs and podcasts and find out what are people doing and find out what field you're interested in finding remote jobs.
right. And let me be very clear too, because I made a video about this and you've probably seen it. Remote work is now like the new corporate. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to offer remote work to people as if it's kind of like, hey, come work for us. We'll give you a remote job. But you have
Yeah.
to be very, very careful because a lot of times there's this like underlying thing to accepting that job. A lot of people, they can't even leave their house because they have it to where it's, oh, you have to stay home. If you leave, you can't even take a break, like all that
Yeah.
other stuff. You don't want that type of remote job.
Right.
And what I want to be very clear with people is, yes, I work in data management for clinical research, and it's given me the ability to do so. So if you're interested in getting in the industry, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's another one of my viral videos. Is clinical research has very minimal representation of African Americans. For one, because of our past experience with it, and I had no idea how much money you can make in that industry. I worked in corrections for 5 years before I even got into that industry. So all you have to do is start looking for entry level positions, whether it's in healthcare IT or in clinical research, whether it's a data coordinator, anything to do with the manipulation of data, etc. Get those entry level positions, and they will be remote work. But again, you have to be very, very careful because even though these companies are very global, many of them, they will try to tie you to your desk at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let me be very clear. What I'm trying to teach my people is to create this nomad lifestyle. I decided to contract my work. So a lot of people in IT right now are losing their jobs, right? We see a lot of people getting laid off. And you know what? I feel so bad because I'm seeing all these people and they're crying on TikTok and they're just like, "Oh my God, my life is ending." And it's so crazy to me because I've got laid off from a few jobs before and I didn't even have any type of that came along with it. Black people to me are very resilient.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing this and I'm like, wow, like so many people are constantly applying for jobs and things like that. One thing that you have to be mindful of when you're looking for remote work and looking for your to be able to finance a nomadic lifestyle is you have to change your mindset. Money is always here to be made. Money is a frequency. You have to be on that energy level. So let's start there from the beginning. You have to be mindful of that. Second of all, a lot of these people who got laid off with these skills that they've worked for these tech companies, what a lot of companies are going to end up doing is they're going to consult or get people to consult for them or freelance for them.
Mm-hmm.
So people can start opening LLCs. All the skills that you've acquired, whether you've done administrative work, whether you've done so many people I know have so much amazing skills, right? But everybody's looking for an employer to pay their bills. Start getting creative and start creating your own type of job. If you're an ex-teacher or a teacher, start creating an online curriculum for expats or nomads so that you can create your own income or generate your own income. A lot of people are looking for that. A lot of people who have data analytics, IT, create your own consulting. This will allow you to start your own business, find your own clients, and be able to fund your lifestyle. And again, like I said, if you're getting USD and you're taking your money, whether it's in Latin America or wherever else it is, you can create a lifestyle. Like I said, my apartment for me monthly is $750. I was paying $2,400 in Tampa.
Yeah. Wow.
I can have a housekeeper come in. I can have a sitter come in. My son has a Spanish tutor who not only teaches him Spanish, but also teaches him to chef. He also does like kickboxing with him. So this is 5 days a week, an hour and a half for 15 days, $135.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I talk about that's one of our another thing you touched on was the skills. I call those transferable skills.
Absolutely.
You can transfer the skills that you have gained in a various number of jobs, figure out what you've done, really write it down, really hone it down. What are you really good at, and use that as your selling point to pitch. We've talked about websites where you can put yourself on there as a freelancer, and you put your resume out there, and companies will contact you to freelance you. Is it competitive? Yes. But you have to know what skills you offer and be able to pitch to those who have that need. It might be one client for 10 hours. It might be one client for 5 hours. It might be one client for 1 hour. But getting multiple clients to do that, and guess what? You have the flexibility to pick who those clients are and when are you actually doing that work. And building your own schedule. So maybe you're only working 32 hours a week or 25 hours a week, but you're able to fund your lifestyle based upon their standard of living wherever you're living at. Of course, that's going to be higher in the US, but like she mentioned, going to Guatemala for making $2,000 a month steadily gives you the opportunity to live maybe better than you did when you lived in the US. So it's always a point of ours to talk about those transferable skills. You don't have to have exactly what you think you have to have. You just have to be open-minded, and you have to be a go-getter. This is not something that's just going to fall in your lap. No one's just going to hand you your dream remote job.
And exactly what she said. See, the problem is that we're on freedom, right? Because it's Juneteenth and we're talking about freedom. Everyone wants to escape the rat race, right? But what are you willing to sacrifice?
Yeah.
The problem is that people are too worried about, for one, what other people think. For two, you're gonna have to go against the grain. You're gonna have to do something that nobody in your family has ever done.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be the person that literally creates this path for others behind you. So what are you willing to sacrifice? I think that a lot of us need to move outside of the consumer mindset and start becoming creative. So me, when I started writing, I became an author, I wrote those 4 books, and I tell people all the time, out of all the Facebook statuses that you've created in the past 5 years, you could have written a book.
Wow. That's very powerful.
We don't realize that, again, we're so much in the consumer mindset that we need to move out of that. What can we do to generate that? And our people need to really focus on the fact that God wants us to be abundant. We're meant to be abundant. And to live this lifestyle, that rat race, difficult for me to breathe. And if I have the law 47 in my head, but a Black woman, single parent.
Is she breaking up a little bit?
Yeah, I was going to say, hold on, Kieona, your audio's kind of starting to go in and out.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's better.
I apologize because, again, my Wi-Fi is terrible here on the beach.
On the beach in Guatemala.
That flex, man. That flex.
But let's go to some of your content, specifically the one that went viral. We'll start there, and then you can kind of piggyback off of that, okay?
And just for those who are listening, this is the video. Like, I've been following her videos. I've been following her content because she's a Black female travel content creator. Living abroad. So I've already been following her, but this video in particular is really what kind of like got me to get her in front of you guys. So you guys needed to meet who I am like in awe of. I'm just like so excited that you're here. This is the video that really drew me in.
Antigua, Guatemala. I am obsessed with Antigua. I think it is probably one of my favorite places ever. Not only
Okay, so shout out this Black solo traveler for putting this on the map. I personally fell in love with Guatemala in my own Black girl version of Eat, Pray, Love last year. As you can see, I have my half Guatemalan baby now. And I am currently located in Guatemala. I have an Airbnb. And you know what's so frustrating is that I made my Airbnb space available to Black travelers, Black solo travelers, all last year throughout the weekend, and not one person hit me up. I wanted to bring more travelers to Guatemala and wanted to be a resource. So if you're ever in Guatemala, hit me up. I have an Airbnb in the city here in Zone 4. I also have so many resources. I have a driver and tour guide available if you need it. If you are a Black solo traveler, please reach out to me for resources.
I'm coming to Guatemala. I'm gonna figure out before I go to Cali how I can go to Guatemala. I'm coming to Guatemala.
You know what the crazy thing is? Like I said, we as Black people, like, we should have cousins across the globe being a resource tool for us whenever we want to come visit somewhere. And that's the mindset that I was thinking of. If you're coming to Guatemala, I'm like, hey, you got a cousin, you know, you could call me up and say if you need a resource. So that's what I want it to be.
That is, I mean, I see why I went viral, first of all. Because I rarely, as many content creators travel related that I follow, I've rarely seen someone say, for a Black female, say, hey, I have an Airbnb. One. Two, I also have resources and I'm offering them to you. Send me a message without asking any, not any hidden things behind it. And your tone, your delivery, it was just very inviting. And I'm surprised that you don't have 500 bookings. I'm surprised you don't have 500 bookings as a result of that. Because immediately I said, I want to go to Guatemala. Adrian had already, told me about it. And here's your video. It was just like all in the cards. Like, I need to see what people are falling in love with there.
Mm-hmm. It's so crazy because I got so many messages, so many inquiries, but I'm gonna be honest with you. So you said 500 bookings. You're surprised I'm not getting 500 bookings. So for one, I did have a few because I hate to say it, but sometimes our people, they can try to taint something that's good, but they will literally say to me, hey, she's probably trying to kidnap us, or it's like some type of joke. But I had so many messages. I'm going to be honest with you. I responded to each and every one of them because I really wanted to be able to make myself available to people. I probably responded to over maybe 200 people who were within the area over the past couple of weeks since that video was created. My driver has driven for maybe about 5 of the people that had reached out to me. So again, my people were able to find a driver to get them back and forth, and they didn't need to book with me in my Airbnb. Because at the end of the day, it was no selling point for me.
Right.
Because I've been abundant for the last year, so I'm good. But I just wanted people to say, hey, reach out to me if they want to know what's a good place to go eat. What's a good place to, go visit, or what is it really like going to Hobito Nango? Because a lot of people go there, but they don't talk about the actual experience. These girls are taking pictures and dresses, and they don't tell you it's freaking freezing up there.
I wanted to go to the comments here and thank everyone. Sincere Mocha. We have a few people here, but they're not chatting as much as they usually are.
Yeah. So Kieona, my friend, is in chat right now. She just dropped her dates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I wanted to chime in with Mocha's question here. She says, so if you're getting laid off from doing remote work, then should you consider doing it again? And
Absolutely.
so I thought about we talk about Juneteenth and the slaves who've been freed and relatively later than the national movement of abolishing slavery. But when remote work is like what is Alex Haley's roots when Shako, I mean, what's his name, was trying to run away.
Yeah.
Is
Kunta
once he
Kinte.
ran away one time and got caught, he didn't stop.
Yeah.
he tried it again. So that's how
even when he got his foot cut off, he kept trying.
Because he got that little taste of freedom. He was like, man, I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah.
So I see remote work as in not to say it's the same thing, but it's so fulfillment of freedom.
Yeah.
That I know a lot of people. I read a lot of blogs. I get like because I'm doing this live stream and everything, so a lot of content comes on my feed, and I hear so many people who are doing remote. I would never go back in the office again. It's that serious.
First of all, when you're looking for remote work, this is what I want to tell my people. Okay, first of all, people have been talking about self-love for the past year, right? Everybody's talking about, oh, you gotta love yourself. You gotta love yourself. Loving yourself is reflected in every avenue of your life, and that includes how you make your money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to these jobs, you have to know your worth. I've had recruiters contact me because they're like, hey, we got a job lined up for you that's a remote job, or they want you to come in the office. I'm like, data managers don't need to come in the office, so I'm good.
Right.
We don't even, let me say something to you. We as Black people, we don't even know how to negotiate our salaries. We just take what's given to us.
Yep.
Hey, Kieona, that's why I said I need to have you on the show, because we've talked about this countless times.
Yep.
But I wanted to add something else, like self-care, self-love. And I've always told Tiffany this. I said that my remote work is non-negotiable.
Me too.
And I'm telling you, and I'm not trying to, toot my horn, but I work hard to say what I'm about to say. Recruiters have offered me $20 to $30 an hour more than what I make right now, and I make way over $30 an hour. Mm-hmm. To where I'm talking about $80 an hour, and
$90 an hour, $110 an hour.
I've turned that down.
Yes,
because it said on-site first day.
I've gotten to the point where I live in my region. I won't apply for anything in my region. Absolutely. Because they're requiring 2 days on site or 1 day on site. So when the recruiters contact me, I'm like, where are you located? If they mention anywhere in the tri-state area, I'm not interested, because I automatically know that even though today they may not want me to come in, eventually they're going to want me to come in.
Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I'll fly in for a little meet and greet. Y'all want to meet once a year? Absolutely.
I can't even do the meet and greet.
Yeah,
it got to be off site.
Me neither.
It can't be in the office.
You want to do a meet and greet in Guatemala? Sure. But if it's in anywhere domestic United States, I'm good on your meet and greet. I don't need to meet and greet you.
They may lock the doors when I come in there, when I go back in the office on a meet and greet. No.
We're still in a panorama, so I'm good.
You know what? It's so funny because I'm sitting here we're talking about this, right? And this is so ancient to those people, that particular group, because to them, they've been homeschooling their kids. They've been working remotely. They've been creating LLCs and living off of their businesses and credit. They've been doing this living abroad and saving money and stacking things up and having things in the US and having USD. They've been doing all this stuff. So to us, this may seem new and it may seem foreign, but they've been doing this. And it's important for us to jump on, because I'm going to be honest with you, I noticed that all of a sudden they're trying to make LLCs even more difficult for people to get.
Oh, yeah.
Because now they're realizing more people want to start their own business.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're making it more difficult. They're getting ready to make it more difficult for you to be able to, look at the time it takes for you to even get a passport now, right?
Passports, be very careful, people. She is telling you something. Passports are taking forever right now. You want to know if America's turning into a third world country? Why is it that most of the other countries, or the third world countries, struggle with getting passports and visa? We're about to be in the same boat because people are leaving at mass numbers.
Yep. Yep.
If you
They don't
don't
want,
have your passport, go get it now.
and the thing is, they're leaving, but taking the jobs with them. They're leaving, they're working the US jobs, but taking that money, that capital that they're starving for apparently, and using it in other countries.
Absolutely.
And that's a big problem for them.
Absolutely.
Because they don't care that we're doing it. Because let's be honest, they don't care that we're doing it. Okay. It's them that's doing it too.
Yep.
Because we're making it popular. We've made Mexico and Panama and Bali very sexy to move to. It's affordable. The cultures are rich, right? There's new things to experience, and we've made them feel safe. Because if they go there, I know I can go there because they go there and they're thriving. Imagine what I do if I go there and thrive, right?
Oh, absolutely. 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 And I'm going to be very clear to people too, because I think one thing that I want people to understand when it comes to traveling. Okay. So a lot of people, this is something that I wanted to make as far as a video recently too, because a lot of people are posting a lot of content about being Black and traveling abroad and the experiences that they feel. And you and I have talked about it, about being dark-skinned and traveling abroad and our experiences, my experience as a woman and your experience as a man. And I'm going to be real with you. I was so surprised because here I am in Latin America and these people are brown. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised that I got stared at as much as I have, or kind of the look. And one thing that I kind of try to refrain from making a post about that I'll share here is I never realized what white privilege was until I started traveling. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because the level of respect that they get when they go to places that they've colonized, no one will ever look at them in any type of manner, know anything, and they give them the utmost respect. But when we step foot somewhere, don't get me wrong, we're not going to have the level of disrespect we have in the U.S., but there's going to be this level of curiosity. What are you doing here? Are you one of us? You know what's so funny? Most of the people, when I get on a plane to come to Guatemala, people ask me, am I from Livingston? If you don't know about Livingston, Livingston is where our people, the Black people, are on the coast of Guatemala, okay, that speak Spanish. And everybody on the plane will ask me, hey, are you going to Livingston? And I'm like, no, I got a place in Guatemala City. Do you know they shut their mouths?
Wow.
Like, why? Like, who are you? And how do you have that?
Yes. Let me jump on to one of your ones that I loved. You was cooking on this, and I was like, ooh. And that's where I got the Great Escape from too as well. So let's go to it.
The new American dream is to leave, to pack up and head to a quiet.
That veil of the American dream is finally breaking. That marketing tool to drive other immigrants to the country, that lie of equality, freedom of speech, all are created equal. Marketing tool is no longer working. We're starting to realize that all the efforts that we've made, the contributions of our ancestors, and I'm not just talking Blacks, country being built off the backs of immigrants. History only repeats itself when it doesn't heal itself. So now we see everything crashing. And me, I know from personal life experiences that the crash does not always turn out to be as bad as we think it is. When things are falling apart, that means a new foundation can be built. And US citizens are realizing that they want more life, that money can't buy their time, that they are tired of running on this treadmill, feeling like they're going nowhere. Americans are seeking peace. America is becoming an overpriced third world country. We can't send our children to school without being concerned for their safety. Can't go to the beaches. The government can't control the guns and the violence going on or handle our financial crisis. And I'm not saying going to another country is the answer or it's a way to escape, because at the end of the day, there's always duality in every aspect and everywhere you go. But what I want to say is that people are starting to think for themselves. It's no longer, I want the American dream because everybody's already done that. We bought the house. Well, if we could afford it. We've got the career, climbed corporate ladders. We've had the children, the white picket fence, dogs, marriage, everything they said that we're supposed to do to make us happy. Yet everyone's still in the pursuit of that. So, my fellow Americans, I want you to really start thinking, what is your happiness? What brings you happiness? And if you can't answer that question, it's time for you to start thinking about it. And the way to find that answer is just to stop. Stop all the hustle and bustle. Stop the social media searches and scrolling. Get reacquainted with your internal GPS system and allow your spirit to tell you what is next for you. Most people have no idea how much our environments and the stress that we are constantly being exposed to affects our life expectancy. As I travel, I see other countries with great grandparents still living, and my family's gone, all related to cardiac or health issues related to potential stress factors. And I want something different for me and my kids. The American dream was originally created for someone else to dream for you with their own agendas in mind. Start thinking about what's best for you.
She was cooking. She was cooking. Oh man, I need to call you Chef Kieona on that one.
Yeah, I mean, every show I think we've had for Manic Monday since the beginning has been about this. Is finding your peace and what that looks like. And you so eloquently and beautifully talked about what it means to stop and center yourself, and not in a negative way, because I know there's a lot of talk about individualism right now and what that means for you. But um, I believe that message you gave can have it's like a pebble. You throw it out there in your family, what that means for you, and you allow those ripples for generations to keep continuing to go. So that message echoes, um, you know, beyond just what you said. So it was very well said, very well done.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I think my kids have inspired me the most, to be honest with you. And like I said, hopefully you guys can hear me well, because I know someone said going.
We can hear you.
Okay. Um, for me, I got the divorce. I've been married. I bought the house before. I have 2 kids. I've been single for 10 years, and I've found my spouse here in Guatemala, which is me. But I am going to be real with you. There is nothing external that's going to make you happy, right? So we have to be very imperative about that, because, you can go to Maldives and be in such paradise, but if you're mentally in hell, that's where you're going to be.
Amen. That
And
is the truth.
so it's very imperative for me to tell people, because so many people have to, again, like people were asking me, like, what suggestions do you give to people that are ready to leave the country? And I say, make sure you do your work before you leave. And what I mean by your work is not getting $10,000. I had somebody reach out to me and told me that, they've been going to workshops, and they're like, oh, you need to save up $20,000 before you move out of the States and all this other stuff. Let me explain something to you guys. If you want to do something with your life, and whoever is listening to me, if you have felt it in your heart for a period of time now, the time is now. A lot of people are waiting for them to get all their ducks in order. And I'm going to be honest with you, you're never going to be prepared or ready for anything.
No.
You can do it to a certain degree, don't get me wrong. Yes, try to figure out your financial situation, how you're going to make your money. But I'm telling you, if you're waiting for that perfect moment, it's never going to come.
It's never going to happen. And you've got to be invested in stepping out of your comfort zone. That has to be an investment that you're willing to do, because without taking those steps, it never happens. It doesn't matter how much research you do. It doesn't matter how much money you save. There's always going to be comfortability telling you you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. It's always going to be that happening. You just have to shush it and do it anyway.
and do it anyway. You know what's so amazing? I see on TikTok so many different influencers. They're on a micro scale. And that's who you guys, because the people that are on a micro scale, they're not trying to sell you thing. They are giving you truth. Okay. The only person that I love right now is Keith Lee. He is the honest to God truth right now. I respect his level of honesty and what he's trying to push to the community. But on a micro scale, so much resource that's being out there. And what I realized is that it doesn't matter how much information you could give someone, only maybe 1% of the people are going to actually receive it and utilize it. I don't give how much free nuggets you're giving out. Only 1% of the people are going to utilize it. Out of the 300,000, almost 500,000 people that watched the video, only 2 people booked. And do you know why? Because most of the people that were in my inbox was scared.
Yep. I saw a post today from a smaller travel creator who talks about solo travel. She's a Black woman. Me being a Black woman who solo travels a lot, I talk about this as well. And she's been posting her solo travel, and somebody finally booked a solo travel trip on their own, and then has booked 4 since then. And she came back in the girls' comment section and said, "I booked my solo trip and following trips because of your content." And this is not a big, gigantic content creator. It's a small one. But it just took one person. And as I'm going through the comments, I'm congratulating the girl who created the content, saying, "This, I love this for you. This is great." I'm seeing how many commenters are saying, "I want to do this, but I'm scared."
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my first solo international trip. I booked Colombia. I'm going to Colombia in August. And it's because I've never been there. I've been solo traveling for a very long time. I'm a little scared, but I did it anyway because I know what's on the other side of that. And you kind of have to just step out and do it in fear, knowing that there's something amazing on the other side for you.
Absolutely.
You can't let that fear, if you know that it's fear, you've identified that the only thing holding you back from doing it is fear. Oh man, you're really letting something that small stop you from doing something. You really have to think about it.
Absolutely. And let me be honest with you guys. If you've been called to go somewhere, so if you're on this call, if you're on this YouTube and you've been saying, "Oh my God, my heart's been on Colombia," or "Oh, my heart's been on Guatemala," or wherever it be, Africa, whatever it is that Portugal, if it's always been on your heart, you don't know that in Portugal, your next business opportunity might have been waiting for you.
Girl.
You don't know if your spouse or your soulmate has been waiting for you. You don't know if your community is over there waiting for you.
You don't know if your confidence is waiting for you.
Correct.
You don't know how that's going to push you to do other things in your life to make your life better. Not everybody else's life, but just your life better, because making your life better will make other people's lives around. It'll make you a better version of you. And so the other better version of you is on the other side of you getting beyond that fear.
Absolutely. And if you know what? I've had so many people reach out to me, and I'm just like, if international is something that you want to do, but you haven't done any solo travel by yourself, just start for the next couple of weeks on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
So if that means going on a date by yourself, if you've never been to the movies by yourself or dinner by yourself, let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's start there. Then go to the dancing classes or something that you've been having on your heart that you wanted to do that you never done. See, the problem is that I got to a point where I realized that if you wait for people, somebody else's money is not always going to be white. You'll be waiting forever. It's either going to be their money's not right, they're scared, whatever the situation may be, and your life is not surrounded around them. And the sad thing about it is that you can't take everybody with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, called to solo travel, that means that this experience, because I'm gonna be honest with you, there's duality, and this is what I always share with people, because they have this idea, like, you know, you see on social media, everybody's traveling, you're like, damn, I want to travel, I want to do those things that those people, but there's duality. You're gonna encounter racism, you're going to encounter insecurities while traveling. You're going to encounter the toxic
Anxiety.
anxiety, all of that stuff is going to come across. But the more that you do it and the more frequently, it builds this level of confidence that nobody can ever take from you.
You ain't lying. You not lying. You are not lying.
Definitely. I need everyone to go and subscribe or follow Kieona. This is her TikTok. I need her to get to 20,000 real soon. So this video is going to definitely help with that once people start to watch it. And you may make my video even go viral here today. So, yeah. I also wanted to go back up to Mocha's question. Cause let's talk about family. You living abroad, you have kids, and I know you go back and forth. So it's kind of like a two-layered question here. You go back and forth from Guatemala to Florida or maybe Pennsylvania, because you're kind of based out of Florida. Okay. And let's talk about visas, because this show, actually, in doing my little prep work, I was like, do they have a digital nomad visa in Guatemala? Which they don't, right?
No, not at all. No.
But I know Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, like you really can just move back and forth, do some visa runs and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
Talk about that and like family, raising a family, because you have like your son is, you got like a little offensive lineman son. That boy gonna be big when he that boy, I see the features. I see he probably like what, 8?
He's 10.
10? Yeah, this boy is big. I was like, he gonna be big when he get older.
Yes.
Yeah. Put him in soccer too, if you can. That big guy with good feet is definitely
Me and my spouse was cracking up. I was gonna reply to your comment. We were cracking up when we saw that.
Oh, you saw what I meant? Okay, yeah, earlier today, yeah. Yeah, so tell us about all of that and throw the visa stuff in there too.
So as far as visas in Guatemala, I'm gonna be honest with you. The visa process, I think so. When you first come to Guatemala, like if you go to Mexico, etc., everyone has like a certain period of time that you can stay in the country, right? So for Guatemala, I believe it's 180 days. And so what I do is I keep going back and forth to Tampa and Florida. Now, don't get me wrong, I could probably get a longer term visa because of my business and me having, property here and things like that. But like I was telling the host, I really feel as though that we're in the process of world schooling. So Guatemala was not my ending ground. I absolutely love it here, and I see the opportunities that I can invest in here. So over the next months, we'll be back and forth, but eventually we'll be going back to, we'll be doing some more traveling. So we plan on going to Colombia soon, the end of the month, and then, Costa Rica and things like that, just traveling Latin America. I think for one, a lot of people who are working remotely could take advantage of it, just because one thing that I did hear, Colombia is very strict, so you got to be very mindful of that. There's a lot of people that are interested in doing Colombia. Colombia has a window where you can't come back. The beautiful thing about Guatemala is that once you leave, it resets. So if you have that 180 days, you go to Florida, and next weekend you come back to Guatemala, your 180-day clock starts all over again.
Wow, that's great.
Right. In Colombia, however, it's completely different.
Yeah, it's calendar based.
We've had several expats and others who travel quite frequently to Colombia talk about their experiences.
Yep. And the same thing with Mexico. So with Guatemala, they're a little bit more lenient on that. However, if we start getting a lot more, tourists and things like that, I could definitely see that changing.
Yeah.
But right now, that's where it stands. But however, I can honestly say that the tourist community is very small. Like a lot of people keep talking about Antigua and Lake Atitlan, but they never even really experience the city. Most people just fly there, they leave, go to Antigua and Lake Atitlan, and that's it. and there's so much more to experience. But in regards to my children, so my son is a 10-year-old. Yes, he just finished school. He was in brick and mortar in Tampa, Florida. And he just finished his 5th grade year. He's a year ahead. He's starting 6th grade in August. He's online school now, so no more in brick and mortar. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, when we went back to Florida and I put him back into school, he had watched a Google video one day. It was like a Google short, and he ended up coming across like a school shooting thing. And to see his level of anxiety for that 2 weeks, it was really scary for me to see, because it's like he knew about school shootings, but he didn't get to see it to that capacity. So it was really scary for me to see him have that level of anxiety of, oh my God, what if this happens to my school? You know, what are we gonna do? So I'm gonna be honest with you. When I came back from Mexico and Guatemala and put my son back into school, I had that mindset every day, like, oh my gosh, like, keep your phone on you, make sure it's fully charged. Good thing we were only 5 minutes away. And I was like, if there's an emergency, please call me and let me know. But just to have that fear of sending your son back to a brick and mortar in America and worrying about the fact that there could be a school shooter, especially because he goes to a predominantly white school, it was really interesting, to say the least. So I decided to take him back out because he did really well, and we do virtual. And so over the summer, what I've been doing is I hired, like I said, a tutor. So the tutor is teaching him Spanish. So my goal is to have my son fluent within the next 6 months. So he's learning Spanish. Matter of fact, we're at the beach right now. The tutor was with us. He came down, and he was teaching my son to surf. How many Black boys do you know surf? So my son's in love with surfing now.
Wow.
Awesome.
So he's just getting to have these experiences that are completely separate from schools. And one thing that I realized with the American school system, I never realized it until I had a little Black boy. The experience in the American school system is much different than it is with young Black women. And I see how it starts so early. I used to think it was a joke. You know how you hear the rappers be like, oh, my teacher said I ain't shit, I'm not gonna be shit. Well, guess what? That's something that is implemented in our young Black men early on. And as they get to high school, that's gonna be to the point where they're not even gonna want to even participate in school anymore. And so what I realized in the American school systems is their job is to dim your light. Whatever your light is, it's to dim it so that when you're 35, 38 years old, you're going back to look for it. I don't want that for my son. My son's very social. They used to call him the mayor of the school because my son could connect people from different cultures just by his social capacity. And a lot of kids don't have that. Me, I enforce my son when we're going out to dinner, whether we're in a Spanish country or an American country, to order his own food because I want him to have social skills. He's got to be able to call the doctor one day and say, hey, I need to come in, I need a checkup, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that having my children travel abroad to see how other cultures live, and to have these life experiences by him being surfing and watching his mom ATV today, or spending the entire day in the ocean when some kids are spending the whole entire day in their PlayStation and gaming systems. I had this, given my son this lifestyle allows him to flourish. And it's non-traditional. And I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of people have said to me, what about the stability for your children? And one thing that I want to remind people, for one, a lot of single mothers reached out to me and asked me if it's possible. Yes, it is. It's possible. I was a single mom for 10 years. You can do anything. So please don't use that as a disability because it will become one. And for my son, I just feel like a lot of people don't know my situation with my son's father, but my son's father is incarcerated.
Oh, wow.
And the lifestyle, he would be considered a statistic, but I made his life something different. And it
Yeah.
was very
Amen.
imperative for me to do so.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's imperative. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm going to, show my daughter the world because I don't want your dusty son telling her, I'm going to take her to this place or whatever else like that. Well, the same goes for my son. It's a form of self-love. I want him to experience different cultures, different cuisines, going out to restaurants and enjoying himself because he's entitled to that. That's the life, abundant life that we all should seek for our kids and our. And you know what the problem, the major thing for me is, it the fact that I'm on this self-love journey, because I talked about it in that video. I was in my eat, pray, love moment. My son got to experience that with me. He's been along with me through the whole process of me divorcing his father and finding a better life for us.
Yeah.
And he's been through this whole process with me, and he's realizing, or let's just put it this way, a lot of people spend so many years trying to tell their kids what they should be doing as opposed to showing them. I decided to show my kid. I can show you better than I can teach you. And so when that stability question comes up from people when they're telling me, oh, do you know you should have a stable life for your kids? Have the house and the picket fence and the dogs, and they go to school Monday through Friday, and you have them in soccer and history and all these other whatever. If that's what you consider stability, that's fine. But what I also realize is that people have been using stability as a crutch, and people have been. It has created that stability has created a level of comfort that has
They,
kept people in their comfort zones.
they've created that particular image of stability.
Correct.
Because if you leave anywhere outside our borders, that image of stability is different depending on what region of the world that you're in.
Absolutely.
So
And
there's
and
more than one definition of stability.
correct. What is your definition of stability? And to me, I want my son to say, guess what? This job only gave me a 1% raise. It's not working for me no more. Not sitting there waiting 20 years later to see if they're going to give you a 20% raise that you've been begging for since 1985 and it's 2025.
Yeah.
I want my son to say, this relationship that I'm in is not going how I wanted to. I can move. This environment is not helping me become the better version of myself. I need to leave. Our people
Yeah.
are so stuck in waiting for something for something to happen to them, or for something to change for them, instead of them being the change. All right, I need to take my power back. Take your power
Yeah.
back.
And I think what we've seen, especially as of late, um, so even from since I've been a child, is the lack of enrichment. We used to do enrichment in school to make you remember, it used to be so that you're a well-rounded individual. Um,
Absolutely.
and they've kind of stripped that from our society, where it's all about how much you can produce.
Yep.
Work, 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 go home, work. I mean, I hear people say all the time, all I do, girl, is go home and go to work. Why do you do so many things?
Yep.
Because do it because my life is not just centered about going here and going there and coming back and getting a paycheck. My life is centered around the experiences I have, the people that I'm with, the relationships that I develop, and the new experiences I open myself up to. And you're not able to do that if you're only focused on establishing that stability. Stability is great so that you can get to the point where you can add these other things in, but don't make that your primary focus, right? Your primary focus should be what's going to make me a better version of me and what that looks like for me. And I tell people all the time, yes, this is a travel remote working show, but we're not strictly speaking. You can take these principles and apply it to maybe becoming a writer or writing about your experiences, or maybe you've been really wanting to be a musician or practice being a musician. Maybe you're someone who loves to dance. Maybe you're an artist. Whatever it is, there's something out there for you that's enriched, that could enrich you as a human being to your human experience. And what better way than to add it to yourself than to step out and start doing that thing?
Absolutely. 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 And it's just it's really it's unfortunate. And again, like I said, it always stems back to that fear mindset. So many of us are so stuck in fear, um, fear of the unknown. And one thing that I live by, because I come from originally from Springfield, Massachusetts. If you don't know, it's the birthplace of basketball. And I call it the zombie land now, because I feel like it's a birthplace. It's just like a place of dead dreams. I've seen so many people pass away. A lot of young Black men I went to high school with died to gun violence, and just, family members just dying and things like that. Everybody ends up in the Oak Grove Cemetery, and maybe that's where I'm gonna end up too. But at the end of the day, my in between is not gonna be in Springfield, Massachusetts. And I just want people to understand, for one, we are more powerful than what we are made to believe, because there would not be so much resistance against us and so much violence towards us if they did not understand how powerful we are. And what I want people to understand on this Juneteenth is that we need to take our power back, and we need to start realizing who we are, because everybody else knows except for us. Everybody else but us understand that. And when we get to that understanding collectively of how worthy we are and how powerful we are, there's going to be a different level of respect for us wherever we go. We don't need permission. We don't need this holiday. We don't need none of that to celebrate us. We should be doing that within ourselves.
Definitely. I said an hour of your time I only needed. We could go on and on and on, but I know you are at the beach
Yes.
and with your family.
Yeah,
So
they're ordering pina coladas, and I'm over here looking at them from a distance.
yes. So I want to be cognizant of time and respectful of your time, because you've taken time out your schedule to come check us out and talk with my peoples over here. So we appreciate you coming on this Juneteenth. I'm definitely going to have you back on soon to kind of do a 60-day checkup, because I wanted to mention something about Mocha was asking about, do you know Spanish? And like, you're what, two years there now, maybe 3 or so. You still
It's been 2 years.
Yeah. So you're still settling in and stuff. So and myself, I'm still learning Spanish, and all that takes time. So we would love to.
Pero hablar poco. I understand much more than I do speak.
Okay. And
that's me.
Yo aprendo, yo entiendo, no,
Entiendo.
Yo entiendo más, more, less escucha, more hablar or whatever. So, but
don't speak it around us, because we know what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna say nothing about it because we can't respond. I might drop a cate la boca in there just to say shut your mouth if you're saying something derogatory. I do know how to say that.
Yeah. But my Spanish is better when I'm in the country, because you kind of immerse yourself, and then you got to swim. So that's the best way to learn is immersion, instead of just getting off these apps and these websites and stuff like that. It takes dedication to do that, but it's sink or swim once you're there, because you don't get nothing done unless you know how to converse, So again, thank you for coming on. Any parting words for the people?
Parting words. All I can say is that if you have had it heavy on your heart, if you can think it, it is possible. And don't limit yourself. take baby steps to achieve whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether it's the remote work, whether it's the moving abroad. It's possible. I've done it. I'm a young girl who, well, I'm 38, but I grew up on Bristol Street in the hood. I could have everything against me, and I still was capable of changing or deciding that I wanted a different lifestyle for myself. So please don't ever allow anything to make you believe that it's not possible.
Oh, and she's gone. Well, yeah. Appreciate Kieona coming on.
Yeah, me
Tiff,
too.
what's good with you? Any parting words?
My parting words are happy Juneteenth. We are free for a reason. Get out there and do the shit scared. Do it scared. Whatever it is, do it scared.
Yes. And remember, it's a Black holiday. It's not a multicultural holiday. It's a Black holiday.
Amen.
White people want to jump in and kumbaya with us now and whatever, but back tomorrow they'll be acting on their same little BS. But yeah, but that is the end. I appreciate everyone coming through. It's been a good one, and let me say goodbye until next time. And with that, we are gone.
See y'all. Have a good night. Happy Juneteenth.
Yes.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.